chairs. I feel like I should Anyway, I'll sit. Anyway, welcome to my new office. As you can see, it's not very populated yet. It's a very meaningful day here for me today, as you know. I've been looking forward to it for a long time. It was announced a few months ago. Seems like so it's great to share this with you. I wanted to invite you into my office to share in this important day for me. So just a few comments up front. I've been studying UVM and spent a lot of time talking to folks here, our friends and alumni around the world. And it's clear that UVM has had stable, successful leadership now for years and great stewardship from the Board of Trustees. And so really, my sense is UVM is in a great place, upward trajectory, and I think there's just great potential and opportunity. I'm just very optimistic about UVM, which is why I took the role. And I guess what I'm committing to is that I will work tirelessly to take UVM to an even better place. Working with all of the folks here, while I've met quite a few people, there's many more people I'd like to meet here on campus and all of our friends. And there's a lot to learn. So I have some idea about some of the things that are going on here, but need to learn a lot more. So, I wanted to acknowledge also that colleges and universities across the nation are facing a lot of challenges, and UVM is not an exception. But I also think that our assets, UVM's assets, are strong, and that we will be able to weather these challenges and thrive through them. With a focus on our student success, quality, and so again, my first day here. I want to share this moment with you. I'm barely moved in. All the boxes outside as you walked in, I'm sure. So there'll be many opportunities for me to connect one-on-one with each of you and learn from you and talk to you, of course. But hopefully there are a few questions that you have now that I can answer.
Can you talk about some of those challenges that UVM is possibly facing? So is it like declining enrollment? I know there's a shift in the demographic in the Northeast.
Yeah, so it's interesting you bring up enrollment. So my understanding is that UVM is doing very well in enrollment. And in fact, while we don't have final numbers, our enrollment has exceeded its targets. So we're actually doing very well. And obviously it's not just numbers, it's the quality of the students, it's the diversity of the students. It's the attributes that they bring, and so the enrollment story is quite good at UVM. So I'm quite optimistic about that. But of course, I think it's hard to read any article about higher education today without hearing about the overall demographic challenges in terms of fewer students sort of graduating from high school and so on, and certainly. The New England region is even more prone to these demographic challenges, and so I believe that these will need to be dealt with. We're not the only university that is facing these, but we're a public land-grant university that comes with a mission, and I'm very optimistic that we can meet these challenges just because of our great students and faculty and staff and our friends. There's a lot of people outside of UVM in our community that are willing to help, and I think we'll certainly have to count on them to help with resources and such as well.
You mentioned the vision for the college. How does your vision for UVM both parallel and deviate from the established vision that has been ongoing here at UVM?
Yeah, so I've looked at the vision, mission, statement, goals, things like that, and they're all it's hard to disagree with them. I would just say that my focus will be on student success, right? we wouldn't be a university if we weren't focused on our students and their success and quality education that they get. So I think we have to continually be looking at how to improve the offerings that we have, how to keep up with new areas and new experiences that we need to give them. And so obviously the top priority has to be student success. There are things like affordability. I mean, student debt is second only to healthcare costs in terms of financial concerns, so we need to be very prudent and think about how to make higher education more accessible, more affordable for students. I'm sure you know that 40% of Vermont students attend UVM with paying no tuition. So I think the university has done well. The tuition increases have been kept fairly low historically, but we need to do more. So and then research, right? We've got a great liberal arts tradition in humanities and so on. Our STEM programs are growing. The medical schools, a great asset, of course. And so, how we take those assets and contribute to society, to the intellectual capital, social capital and such is what we'll continue to look for. So, obviously there'll be a more comprehensive plan that comes out, but probably not today, not the way this place looks and such, but I'm learning, and there's a lot more to learn before I can formulate a comprehensive plan.
What is your top priority as a president coming in? What are your top goals?
Yeah, so I will almost just repeat what I said, only because the students, I think, have to be the center of our lives, of our thought, of everything we do. It's got to be about the student, about their safety, their security, their mental well-being, but also to expose them to things that they deserve to be exposed to. Right? So experiential learning, more studying abroad, or sort of engaging in internships. UVM has a very good record in those kinds of areas, but we cannot be teaching our students what we learned only, right? There's much more that's changing, and so it has to be a student focus. And obviously, as president, I also need to be cognizant of and very careful about the financial picture, and so fiscal prudence, fiscal responsibility, and essentially, there's a lot to be cheering about. So, I'll be the #1 cheerleader for UVM here on campus, across the state, and across the region, across the world, however far we want to go. So again, it's all about students.
And looking at that financial picture, you've talked about how there has been an increase in tuition, but it's been relatively low historically. But however, in the grand scheme of things, Vermont has, on average, some of the highest in-state and out-of-state tuitions for public colleges. Are you concerned that that price will continue to rise for students at UVM?
So I am concerned about keeping higher education affordable, and we will do all we can to make that among our top priorities, to do all we can to sort of think of ways of, there's no magic bullet to this, right? It's not as if we want to do more, we want to educate in newer ways, laboratories, et cetera, are expensive, our state support is what our state support is, and so I think one of the silver linings to that is potentially that we have so many happy alumni that are doing well, and friends that seem anxious to support the next generation of education for the students. And so I'm quite optimistic that it's hard to set quantitative goals at this point, but that will be a very important priority for me to not only ensure that higher education is affordable, but also accessible to a broad diversity of students.
And so a bit more on the alumni for donations, is that kind of what I'm hearing as well as a strategy?
So we heard that, yes.
So-
There are many strategies, right?
Yeah.
So that it's one of several.
So, how do you kind of strike a balance between keeping students happy that are currently here and the alumni that maybe see that UVM is transforming over time and diverting from what it was like when they were here?
So I don't see a dichotomy there. I think that our alumni would be very happy to see us educate our students, to learn things that they may not have learned while they were in college, but the world's changed, and fields have changed. New degrees, new sort of disciplines. Things have changed so much that it would be silly. Nobody would expect. I can guarantee you, none of our alumni would expect that, hey, I took these courses and you should be taking, giving them the same courses. So I don't see an issue there or any sort of tension.
What are the social climates at the university? Social climates. How do you still strike that balance between, the climates that the students want and the alumni want?
Really, I mean, you pose it as I'm two different hands here, but I'm not sure. The university is a place that students come to explore, to grow, to be exposed to lots and lots of different kinds of ideas. I'm hoping that there are great visitors that come to campus and challenge us to think in new ways. And I mean, one of the things that attracted me about UVM and about Burlington and Vermont is that you have a very engaged community. And you'll see me use the word engage a lot. Yeah, I used to lead the Office of Engagement at Purdue. So I see that as a plus.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it'd be far more boring if nobody cared. And so I think there's a lot to be you can make a lot out of that student, faculty, community engagement. And I'm hoping that we can constructively, collaboratively have many, many conversations that get us to a place where our students have the best educational experience.
You jumped the gun on one of my questions there. Two-part question.
You didn't tell me the question. I didn't jump anyway.
One of them is, you were, very high-level administrator at Purdue, which is, not to put UVM down or anything, a very high-level university and stuff. So what was it about UVM that attracted you here? And second, before I lose out the chance to ask, how do you pronounce your name?
All right, there you go. That's easy. Call me Suresh. That's Suresh Garimella. I go to places, I stick there for a while. So I was at Purdue for 20 years. I was at the University of Wisconsin before that for 10 years. My children were born, when I was, my daughter was just before. But so I've been at Purdue a long time. I have been at Purdue a long time, and I learned a lot there. Right. So fundamentally, I'm an educator, a professor, a researcher. That's what I'm most known for. But I've had the opportunity of being exposed to great opportunities in university level administration in Washington D.C. As you know, during Secretary Clinton's time, I spent a period there as a science fellow where I was advising the government, and now I'm on the National Science Board. So I just feel blessed for all the opportunities I've had. There's a lot of things I was able to learn over time. Why UVM? I think, I'll tell you that the fact that it's a land-grant university was a very big plus for me, right? It's hard to say, would I not have come if UVM was not land-grant? I don't know, but certainly I came in large part because there's this very nice sort of coexistence and I think one feeds the other at UVM of a strong private liberal arts tradition, private where it started, and a land-grant mission, an ag school, a medical school, engineering, etc. So I think it's nice to have all of that. As I said, and the fact that Senator Moore was from this place has that added value. There's a building called Morrill Building down here, so I wish I had an office there. But so that means a lot to me. I think that the students are very engaged. Like I said, I see that as a plus. The faculty are very engaged. It's an active community. There's great research being done, great strength and sustainability, and in medicine and so on. So I think the future is very bright. There's much we can do, and as I said, our alumni are very excited and happy to take us there too. And of course, look around. Burlington. I'm told it's always like this outside. The setting's great, and I don't know if you saw the message I just wrote to the campus this morning, and I talked about what I heard about was this Vermont mystique. And you have to sort of experience the mystique, I guess. It's hard to sort of be told what it is, but my son and my daughter, my wife and I landed on the first day of summer, and it was just a very nice experience. So there's just a lot to like, a lot to look forward to. I feel very optimistic. I think the people here have also given me a sense of being optimistic and looking to make greater contributions yet to the students, to research, to our community. So I'm just very excited to be here.
What do you talk about connecting with students?
Now, go ahead. We'll go to
Okay. What are some of the things that you want to tell the students about yourself? Interesting facts, those types of things, to kind of connect and engage with your students.
Yeah. So I'm very anxious to get to know the students better. During my visits, I've had lunch with some of them, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm hoping that I can show up at a dorm and other cafeterias and just people come sit around and tell me about their experiences and such. I actually reached out to some students who were here, who graduated, et cetera, to learn more. But in terms of the facts are in a 65-page CV that was uploaded on my website. But that's not what you're talking about, right? I think I would like the students to feel like they have access to me. Just to me, in some ways, it's personal. I mean, my daughter and son are both going to college, so when we think about security and safety and mental well-being and all these things, I mean, it's something I'm worried about for my children, and so I hope that they see that they can approach me anytime, that they'll see me around campus, and there are a lot of responsibilities to balance in this job, and there's a lot that you're called on to do, but if someone in my role doesn't make themselves available to the students, then you're missing out on something. So I'm hoping to learn a lot from them and be available, and I'm hoping that I can contribute in my small way to making more opportunities available to them. Right? I built a lot of partnerships. I trust. I believe in relationship, in making relationships, and so hopefully that can help them too.
Yeah, so in the past 2 years,
Good to see many of you back. I thought you would never want to come back after that the previous day.
so in the past 2 years, there's been pretty major anti-protests on campus. Any thoughts on how to make UVM a more welcoming place for students of color?
Sure. I mean, it seems to me like there's a lot of conversation on campus already. Obviously, there's, from the events I think that you speak of, my sense is that a fair amount of change has been brought about. Obviously, social justice, etc., is the work of social justice is never done, and so we continue to work on it. I need to understand more. In some of my lunches, I actually was trying to probe a little more about sort of what it is that the challenge, what is the actual challenge, the core of it. And so I need to understand more of it. But diversity leads to excellence. It's very, very clear to me that that is the case. And so, but diversifying the population is one thing. at UVM, but also inclusivity, right? Those that are here, everyone should feel welcome and valued, notwithstanding what end of whatever spectrum they come from. And so I hope that words also translate into actions, and I need to learn more and understand more, but that certainly is a very big priority, and I know it's important to the community, so.
What appeals to you about the land grant, Senator? The land grant? What appeals to you about that?
Oh, yes, right. So that's, we could talk about that for a long time. I think that just what President Lincoln did and that whole concept to me is just extremely aligned with how I think about higher education. I'm a product of public schooling. I don't come from, from means. And so the fact that I'm here today, I think that everyone should have that opportunity. And so what I think of as being a land grant mission is that, at least my version for what it would mean to UVM is that all of our assets should be brought to bear on the well-being of the community. Now, whether you define the community as the university, the city, the region, the globe, and so there are things that you do that I think you want to do good. And really, the land grant mission is quite centrally about that. It's about access, that anyone should be able to access higher education. It's about being useful to the community, if you will. So I just think it's a beautiful concept, and it has morphed over time. There are some universities that have embraced that mission and have, it has blossomed there. I would say that at Purdue, my experience is indeed of a land grant that is very deeply engaged with, across the state and across the nation. So I think it means, it comes with a certain responsibility, and I take that very, very seriously.
Let's give Molly the next
Yes.
question.
Oh, well, you mentioned your schooling. Where did you go to school? Elementary, high school, and what did your parents do?
I changed 7 schools in 2 high schools, so I probably won't recount them all. But so I went to school in India. I got a bachelor's at IIT Madras. That's in India as well. I went to Ohio State for a master's, and then I went to Berkeley for a PhD. Loved it. It's anyway. And then I taught at Wisconsin for about 10 years. Actually, Burlington reminds me a little bit of Berkeley. A little cleaner than Berkeley is, but it's sort of, anyway. Church Street was a lot of fun. We stayed on a hotel there for a few days and really got to experience that Telegraph Avenue type thing. So, and so my dad's an engineer. My mom stayed home and took care of us, and a lot of what I am today, a lot of what my brother and sister are today, we owe to them and their attention to us. Nothing was more important to them than our schooling. They could not, at least in those days, dream of leaving us any fortunes, and therefore the fortune they left us was a great education. And that really goes back to what I was saying earlier about being a product of public schools. I fondly remember teachers I had in school, my first grade teacher, and all these folks. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it still happens, but my first grade teacher, I remember, instilled in me this thing about you could be anything you want to do, and it was just great from then on to have that kind of, confidence building, etc. So anyway, maybe I've gone on too long with that question, but.
One other question. You're arriving at UVM after a major construction boom. We still have a major construction project over at Gutterson, which is, primarily sports driven. How do you square the expenditure on that complex with the high cost of tuition and this being an academic institution?
Sure. It's a great question, and really, I think I'm really glad you asked it. So, athletics at a university like UVM, I think plays a very important and very a key role in sort of expanding the opportunities that our students have. It's not a university that's driven by a football team or so, and therefore I really think, Jeff Schulman, the AD, I've had some great conversations with him. My understanding, and again, this preceded me, but my understanding of the new multipurpose center is that it was very centrally targeted at giving our students better spaces to work out in, etc. I mean, wellness is a very big part of UVM's ethos, it seems, and there's a wellness environment and things like that, in a dorm and such. But I think this is part of that, to make more newer facilities available. I do think it helps in recruiting and such. So there's a lot of positives that come about from an investment like that. And obviously, as you know, there have been some key alums that have been very supportive of that, and I hope that they continue to do that. So I think that as long as we focus on the integrity and the academic excellence as well of our students, Jeff just told me this morning that our athletes had the highest GPA ever. Don't quote me on that. I guess you're quoting me on that, but I don't know the exact sort of statistic. But he was very pleased with the GPA of the students that this past spring semester. And so I think we want to stay focused on that, on the controls and so on. But so you talked about buildings. Yes, there's been some wonderful work on campus around buildings that we will need to continue to examine our priorities and really to see what the needs are and what will serve our students best and what will help us continue to enhance our land grant mission the best, and that's what we would focus on. If that means some more along those lines, so be it. But if there are other ways we should be spending our resources, then we should do that. So I think a lot more thinking needed there. Yes,
How about the new provost? You the previous provost left, sort of gave you a blank slate here. What's that process and what were you thinking of?
I love Patty Grelock. Write that down. So I'm very pleased. By the way, for the last few months, I'm very pleased with how well the transition has gone. I would say the transition is complete today. Tom Sullivan, my predecessor, it's really been a very good transition process for me. He included me in all that I needed to participate in. I felt like I had a very good understanding of where the university was going, and therefore I can tell you that the provost selection was we had a faculty committee, et cetera, but I also interviewed all the candidates, and I was very pleased with all the candidates. We had some amazing internal candidates that stepped up, and Patty just brings so much experience at UVM, and so I had the right feeling about it when we named her provost, and every day, every hour since then, I'm so proud of myself for the instinct I had. But anyway, it's just been a great choice. Patty's done a fantastic job. Transitions are always somewhat kind of anxiety causing, but I think she's managed it very well. Very soon, I think you'll see a seamless leadership presence, and so I just couldn't be happier with my first hire.
Let's do just a couple more so we can turn the AC back on.
Yeah. So some of the faculty, obviously prior to you being hired, felt like they didn't get to know you well enough, and they weren't involved enough in the
I had
process.
hundreds of them.
Right. So I was gonna say, what have you been doing since to bridge the gap between the faculty who felt like they should have been included earlier, and now, of course, with you being on the job?
Yeah. No, I feel like I met a lot of them even before I was announced, and in fact, I'll tell you that the search committee was a very large search committee, and I'm a little surprised because the very first time I went with the search committee was an hour and 15-minute window, and the sense I got from talking to those staff on there, students on there, board members, faculty, etc., was just one of great optimism and great sort of can-do and where are we going to go kind of thing, which is what led me to come in the first place. And since then, I've met many, many faculty members. I get lots of emails, and I respond. So now that I'm here, of course, I intend to walk about, I guess, and invite them over to the home that the university has provided us, and there'll be many opportunities that students, faculty, staff want to learn as much as I can, as quickly as I can. Certainly the weather is slightly more conducive to walking about now than it will be soon, I guess. So I'm of the faculty. I've been a faculty member all my life. I believe I know the experiences. Yes, in my field, not necessarily, not I come from engineering, but so I definitely look forward to learning more. And I think you'll find that. I hope they'll all find that soon they do know me well, and so I'll do what I can. And if you have ideas, by all means, shoot me a note saying, hey, you should probably do this to let you know the faculty better.
How do you find your engineering background influences your leadership style and the way you look at a problem?
I don't know that it does, but it's hard for me to say. I've been an engineering professor for 30 years. I really think I'm pretty sure I wasn't hired here because I'm an engineer. And I think it's all about people, it's all about relationships, it's about instinct, it's about trust. And so, again, I think my past experiences in sort of global affairs, in engagement, in research, and in lots of sort of hiring in other areas, faculty and student sort of administration, I think has positioned me well. I mean, at Purdue, we're a great liberal arts college that I work very closely with, as I did with the veterinary medicine, pharmacy, et cetera. So I think that, and if people see me as an engineer somehow looking to solve things, yes, sure, I'm proud of that. I mean, I think, analyzing something and looking for solutions in a way that is inclusive, that you consult a lot of people and try to arrive at options is great. But I guess it's hard for me to say. You'll have to tell me once you've seen me in action.
Really quickly, one fun fact about yourself that you want your students, your faculty members to know about you.
Enrique, why didn't you warn me that you asked me a question like that? One fun fact.
What are your likes? What are your dislikes? Those types of things.
So, the one thing I'll miss because I won't have time to do it here is gardening. I love my little bit of a side hobby thing when I have time is to grow stuff.
Community
people grow
gardens.
it for me here, I guess. So, sorry?
There are a lot of community
Yeah.
gardens.
I know, yes,
like you
but
get
you
gardening
probably don't
in.
want to see me there too often, otherwise you say you're not doing a job. But I don't know.
Vegetables or flowers?
I was good at roses, and I grow a lot of vegetables.
Oh, okay. All right.
Are you going to stay at the president's house? Are you going to stay?
Yeah, sure. We moved in. We're there.
Nice.
People see us, and there's lots of boxes, empty boxes outside. By the way, speaking of which, I think Enrique is going to shut this down.
Yes.
There are a lot of boxes outside. If anyone feels like there are a lot of empty shelves.
Set up a line.
I take the fifth on that. I walk a lot and bike and
Snowshoeing.
I've cross country skied. I used to live in Milwaukee for 10 years. I do cross country. I have not downhill skied, which is anathema, which is the worst thing to say around here. But
No,
You
that's not
cross
true.
country ski around campus.
there you go. Sure. I guess.
All right, I'm going to turn the AC back on.
Well, thank you all again.